Why are there 26 letters in the English alphabet? And when I first started writing my book, I was going to start this book with the number 74, just like I started this book with the number 74 because it's just such an important number. But instead I was like, you know what? I'll do why is there 26 letters in the English alphabet, because that kind of explains the significance of numbers and letters when we're talking about the English language, a language, standardized with a 26 letter alphabet. But again, here's how it goes. Why are there 26 letters in the English alphabet? There is no more perfect or logical place to begin our learning of the relationship between letters and numbers than by answering the most fundamental question to the study. Why are there 26 letters in the English alphabet? As we will uncover, the answer is as deep as time, dating back to the beginning of recorded history, and as insightful as one could hope. In answering the question, we will connect the spiritual, God, human anatomy, and the stars above, plus more. As we connect the dots, much light will be shed on the age-old beliefs the body is the temple, and we humans are the children of the stars. Please know that as your teacher of this sacred knowledge, I do not aim to push any bias or dogma. I only intend to share what is based in verifiable evidence and what inspires. In doing so, the scientific and the religious will come together as the ancients once considered them, part of the whole or the oneness of the reality we share. For your personal reference, the 26 letters of the modern English alphabet are as follows. And then, as you can see, I have A to Z there. If you were to ask an English teacher why these 26 letters make up the modern English alphabet, you would likely be told it is because English is a Latin language based in the 26 related letters of the Latin alphabet after the fall of Rome, thus where the word alphabet comes from, the first two letters of Latin, alpha and beta. That answer, while true, neglects the significance of 26 and why it was decided as the official count for English, which in its history has varied between 20 letters and 30 letters, same as Latin. To learn the significance of the number 26 and what sets it apart, we must travel back to the cradle of civilization, to ancient Babylon. Out of this early and extremely advanced society, which gave rise to Egypt, came the world's first alphabet, and with the alphabet came mysticism still practiced today pertaining to language, known as Kabbalah. It is in this same mysticism where the significance of the number 26 resides. In Kabbalah, the central belief is God created the world with language by combining the number with the letter with the word. This is expressed in the foundational text of Kabbalah, the Sefer Yetzirah, or in English, the Book of Formation. In its opening paragraph, it states in reference to God creating the world, He created His universe by three forms of expression: numbers, letters, and words. This belief about creation from the Book of Formation is in line with the beginning of the Holy Bible, which begins with Genesis, where God speaks the world into existence over the course of 6 numbered days before resting on the 7th day and making it holy. If you have not read the story of creation from Genesis, God begins each day by making a verbal command, and God said, then bringing something new into the world, from light to water to land, to stars, to the sun and moon, to plant life, to living creatures, etc., before concluding with His last creation, mankind, who was brought into existence in the 26th verse of the Bible on the 6th day, and both numbers for very specific reasons we will reveal. The book of Genesis, long before being translated into English, was first composed in Hebrew, the Semitic alphabet, with roots also dating back to Babylon, same as Kabbalah, and same as every Latin-based language due to Latin being based in Greek, and Greek being based in Hebrew, which traces its origins to the ancient Phoenicians who became part of the Babylonian civilization and are credited with the world's first alphabet. According to Kabbalists, Hebrew was crafted in tribute to the way in which God created the world, which is why each character of the alphabet represents a letter as well as a number, same as its predecessor, Phoenician alphabet. This is where the number 26 connects. In Kabbalah and in Hebrew, it is the number 26 that represents the 4-letter name of God, known as the Tetragrammaton, translated into English as YHWH. From Genesis, the first book of the Torah. Below is the math for the numerical value of YHWH, pronounced Yahweh, and written in Hebrew as, and then you have your Hebrew letters there. If we read English the same way as Hebrew, right to left, HWHY is how we would read Yahweh. Thus, the first Hebrew letter is read is blank, then blank, then blank. I can't think of the names of those. I wrote them down. Up ahead, just in the next thing, I wrote down what the names of those are. Cannot think right now. It is important, but I show the math for the Hebrew. The 10th letter, the 5th letter, the 6th letter, the 5th letter adds up to 26. It is important to note that the first Hebrew letter of the four-letter name of God is Yod, very similar to the English word God. Yod, Y-O-D. In chapter 5, we will uncover the greater significance of Yahweh, beginning with the 10th letter of Hebrew. For now, consider it is Yahweh who provides the 10 commandments to humanity through Moses in Genesis. Also, if we dare to become a little more abstract in our thinking, the 10th letter is the first letter of Yahweh's name, something like 101 if we combine the digits 10 and 1. In English, the word Hebrew sums to 101, the 26th prime number, as does the Zohar, the most important text to Kabbalah. And think about 101, right? After the Sefer Yetzirah. For another 101, 6 days also computes, the number of days it took God to create the world per Genesis. In Hebrew, the word for mathematics even equates to 101. It is this relationship with 101 and 26 that provides the reasoning for why Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon faith, spoke to the angel Moroni on September 21st, 1823, the day leaving 101 days left in the year on the Gregorian calendar. As we will learn, the name Joseph equates to 26, and so does faith. And as will become clear from here until the end cover, prime number relationships are paramount in this alphanumeric coding system, which at its heart is based in mathematics and real-world relationships with numbers, especially pertaining to time. It is also for this reason the Disney film is titled 101 Dalmatians, which of course is about dogs, and as you will soon learn, the word dog, just the same as the word God, sums to 26. And in case you have forgotten, prime numbers are those only divisible by the number 1 in themselves. Thus, the only numbers that divide into 101 are 101 and 1. Now let us continue with the spelling of Yahweh. The letter Yod, the 10th, is then followed by the 5th letter He, then 6th letter Wah, and completed by the 5th letter He. Not by coincidence, using the English alphabetic order, the word God also sums to 26, pairing nicely with the 26 letters of the alphabet. The math of God is as follows. G is the 7th letter, O is the 15th, D is the 4th, added together 26. This practice of coding numbers into words and words into numbers is traditionally known as Gematria when practiced within Hebrew and isopsophy when practiced within Greek. Not by surprise, if you write Gematria code, it too totals to 101. In the Bible, where the code is based, it concludes with Revelation, where one of its most known verses, Revelation 13:18, pertains to the number of the beast and the number of a man. That number is 666. This verse is traditionally known as a Greek isopsophy riddle, where in ancient Greece, a sentence would be written serving as a clue that was also paired with numbers for the reader to solve. Keep in mind, the Greeks wrote the New Testament of the Bible ending with Revelation. As you'll learn in chapter 3 and 4, in English, isopsophy sums to 666, same as humanity and Genesis, where man is created on the 6th day of creation in Genesis. Not unrelated, the name Batman sums to 666, and in the Batman film where Jim Carrey stars as the Riddler, he introduces the concept of isopsophy through alphanumeric puzzles written for Batman that secretly code the Riddler's next planned devious act. Now, for your knowledge bank, before we get back onto the number 26, the Revelation 13:18 riddle is as follows. Revelation 13:18. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. The wisdom and insight is coming, truth seeker. In the chapters ahead, we will examine the overlaps between Hebrew, Greek, and English. And next chapter, you will learn how to calculate each of the bolded words that follow, which in English all add up to 26. And by the way, I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten over the years where someone's actively reading chapter 1, and they're like, I just added up these letters and they don't equal 26. And then I write back, I said, did you get to chapter 2 yet? And they'll say, no, I'm still reading chapter 1. It's just like, okay, you're reading but not reading. It says, in the next chapter, you will learn how to calculate each of the bolded words. Because people don't know about numerology, right? They're just thinking like, okay, they got it. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. So they're expecting everything. They don't understand this is the base cipher system. But it's just that like that's why you just need a shorter book, just to the point. I mean, people can't even make it through the first chapter. They're already like, wait a minute, I think this isn't true. It's like, dude, you haven't even gotten to chapter 2 yet. God. Okay. As we covered, God sums to 26, so does Yahweh, so does Adonai, which is another common name for God in the Old Testament. So does Babylon, the birthplace of Kabbalah and language and letters. So does Thoth, the Egyptian god of reading and writing and mathematics and thought and more. So does Greek, practitioners of the code, who wrote the New Testament. That is 260 chapters, 260. So does Zeus, the Greek god. So does Apollo, the son of Zeus. So does Emmanuel, Christian name for Jesus. So does Abraham, the patriarch of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So does Joseph. Again, all these bolded words equal 26. The spiritual figure in Abrahamic religions. So does letter, the 26-letter English alphabet. So does spell, what we do to create words or cast magic. So does read, we read letters. So does Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible given to humanity. The 26 generations from creation. So does count. Kabbalists count the numerical values of the letters, words, and verses of the Torah. So does add up, and so does Adam, where Adam is the name of the first man who is created in the 26th verse of the Torah, in the image of the gods. And yes, the word image also sums to 26. By the way, somebody said earlier that I misspoke because it doesn't say that it doesn't allude to there being plural gods in Genesis when mankind's made in the 26th verse. It says in our image. Our is plural, right? So if mankind is made in our image in reference to the gods, how is that not plural? And then if it's one of these, well, the more true Hebrew translations, this, again, still, why is it worded that way in English? Why did they use the word our, which implies plural? As we read the 26th verse of Genesis, keep in mind the author is said to be Moses, born 26 generations from Adam and responsible for the first 5 books of the Bible, what is the Torah, or commonly referred to as the 5 books of Moses. Those books are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Please pay mind the 4th book is titled Numbers, where 4 represents foundation in numerology. And to Pythagoras, the Greek great, the isopsephy enthusiast, who is said to be the father of numerology and mathematics, what he called the tetrad, representing God, not unlike the 4-letter name of God, Yahweh. Also related, the 4th chapter of Genesis is exactly 26 verses. Now, without further ado, the 26th verse of the Holy Bible is as follows. Genesis 1:26, NIV. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. In light of the encoding of 26 uncovered thus far, the next question becomes, what does God have to do with 26, and what is the significance of man being created in the 26th verse? The answer to the question is in our anatomy, another word summing to 26, because every human being is constructed of 206 bones. And we as people are one of the rare species that stands upright with each of our feet and ankles containing 26 bones apiece. Again, man is made in the image of the gods, so if the digits 2 and 6 are relating to man, then they are also pertaining to God, according to the Kabbalistic interpretation of the Holy Bible. Building the evidence of the significance of the number and its relationship with us as people, the words bones, carbon, and calcium each sum to 26 as well. Of course, man is made of carbon, the sixth element on the periodic table, much like mankind being made on the sixth day of creation. Even more, carbon as an element is said to have 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons, similar to how to Revelation 13:18 of the Bible proclaims 666 to be the number of the beast, as well as the number of a man. When you realize 13 is the 6th prime number and 18 factors into 6 plus 6 plus 6, that verse becomes all the more interesting, as we'll learn what makes 6 special in chapter 3, called a perfect number, and what it has to do with the word man in light of Revelation 13:18. Carbon is also considered to be the God element, existing in all living things, and our bones are rich with calcium as well as iron, the 26th element on the periodic table, a subject for later, where we uncover undeniable parallels in science, spirituality, and Kabbalah that brings much clarity to the world we are living in and how this alphanumeric coding is impacting our understanding of it, from the Big Bang to Genesis to evolution to NASA and beyond. Continuing with the connections to our anatomy in number 26 is the word skeleton. As mentioned, prime number relationships are crucial in this study of letters and numbers. Just as Hebrew sums to 101, the word skeleton does too, which again is the 26th prime number, corresponding perfectly with the value of 26 for bones. And again, there's 206 bones, 206. For a little more fun with bones, the word dinosaur also sums to 101. You probably remember your early schooling days and how some of the earliest knowledge you encountered was about dinosaurs. You likely also recall how in your middle school, high school, and possibly collegiate career, introductory classes were numbered 101. Not by coincidence, the word teach has a numerical value of 26. And on the subject, so does the name Oxford, the oldest English-speaking university in the world, not too far from where the first dinosaur bone was discovered in England as well, the land of the Queen, also summing to 26. As we will cover later, it is no coincidence the Queen of England, Elizabeth II, a dinosaur in her own right, began her reign on February 6, 1952, written 2/6 in the United States, and celebrated her coronation on June 2nd, 1953, written 2/6 in the UK. Of course, 2/6 is similar to 26, matching the numerical values of crown and royal. As will also become evident, especially when we discuss murder by numbers in chapter 20, the dates of the calendar year are very much a part of the alphanumeric code that is entirely in tune with the Gregorian calendar, or the common calendar. Just wait until we uncover Princess Diana's August 31st, 1997 death and the clear connection to Queen Elizabeth II. For another tie-in with bones, the word graveyard also sums to 101, and grave alone totals 26. Of course, graves and graveyards are full of bones, as well as being spiritual centers. In Chapter 3, we will uncover something very powerful about our skeleton and how it relates to the ancient alphanumeric system even more deeply, tracing back to an old Kundalini belief about human enlightenment traveling up the 33 vertebrae of the spine and empowering the mind's eye. the pineal gland or the third eye of the brain. A word also summing to 26, brain 26. Just the same as temple, the name for the place on the skull that is outside the temporal lobe, which is responsible for language comprehension. On the subject of the brain, the words think, focus, and logic. Uh-oh, throat's getting dry. Think, focus, and logic equate to 26, as does Plato, the father of philosophy and thought, the well-remembered Greek who created the world's first university, where this same knowledge you are learning now was once shared. Again, you have to remember the Greeks, they were into this. Like, this wasn't thought of like, oh, this is stupid. This was like, oh, this is interesting. The test each student had to pass before joining Plato's university was having basic understanding of geometry and the stars. As we'll get to, the word gematria means geometry within language. If you could comprehend these subjects, you were admitted. Fittingly, comprehend sums to 101, and the word test sums to 26. Back on the subject of our human anatomy, the words hands and thumb each total 26. The physiology of our hands, having opposable thumbs, meaning our thumbs can touch each of our fingers, sets us apart from most other living species. It is this ability of our thumbs that allows us to grasp things, from the pen to the hammer, which in turn gives us the ability to create, from writing to drawing to construction. The word draw is also 26. That's what I did with the chapter. Some points I didn't even point it out. I just bolded the part that's 26. Opposable thumbs are only found in primates, including apes and monkeys. Of course, our entire body, hands and all, is covered with skin, the largest organ we have, where both words equate to 26. The ancients believed our skin's ability to regenerate after being scraped or cut was a certain sign of God within us all. This is closely related to the generative principle, which speaks to man's ability to procreate. Throughout history, the phallus, an erect penis summing to 26, has symbolized this very concept. Another part of our anatomy that is a crucial part of language and having gematria of 26 is our tongue, matching the 26 values of spoken, oral, sound, and noise. Consider that for tens of thousands of years, language existed only orally prior to the first known alphabet being recorded by the Phoenicians. Even more interesting, Kabbalah was taught for centuries only orally as a means of keeping secrets, another 26. Kabbalah was not meant for the unfaithful and therefore was protected. Speaking of which, faith, karma, hope, and atone each equate to 26, as do heaven and hell. As will become understood, there is much duality in this language as there is in all other things of this world. Regarding secrets and duality, there is a secret society, a brotherhood, who are very much students of the dualistic nature of this world that certainly has had a major role in the crafting of the English language as we know it, and no doubt the English translations of the Bibles as we know them too. Before unmasking this society, which subscribes to the motto, as above, so below, and the body is the temple, let us quickly read from 1 Corinthians, where the body is said to be the temple. 1 Corinthians 6:19, NIV. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. After reading the verse, please recall God made the body of mankind in the 26th verse of the Bible, which is the temple 26, where if you add up the bones of a person, there are 206 in count. The fraternal organization, the secret society, where the qualifying belief for membership is that you believe in God, pays great tribute to this concept in the naming of their meeting place. They are Freemasonry, and their meeting place is referred to as a Masonic temple, summing to 206, same as the number of bones in the body. Members of these temples are commonly called Masons. They are scholars of the Bible, especially the Torah, and the majority of their lore is based in Kabbalah, as admitted by notable members and authors of the fraternity, such as Albert Pike and Manly P. Hall, both of the 33rd degree, a top honor in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Fittingly, the word Mason alone has a value of 26, connecting with God, Torah, temple, faith, and bones. As we will uncover, this network is using a powerful tool, the lie, another three-letter word summing to 26, to play God over the masses. Please know that when I say this network, I am speaking to its upper echelons, not the common members and local lodges who are mostly good people looking for brotherhood and further understanding of this special world we share, and who are mostly ignorant of the fraternity's transgressions. Also related, the word nose, another part of our anatomy, adds up to 26 and ties in with the age-old belief about liars and long noses. Hello, Pinocchio. Of the many Masonic fraternities in the world, one of the most well-known is Skull and Bones, the elite society at Yale and New Haven, Connecticut. This society is paid tribute to in the 33rd episode of the original Batman TV show, where it is stated that Bruce Wayne's Batman's great-grandfather founded Skull and Bones. In this secret society's existence, it has put at least two men in the White House, George H.W. Bush and his son George W. Bush, who the latter of which was the president in office for the tragic September 11, 2001 date, a date surrounded by monumental and catastrophic lies. In the chapter on September 11th, we'll discuss the significance of the destruction of the two towers in light of the history of the destruction of the two temples of Jerusalem, Solomon's and Herod's, and the crusades that came later in history. The word crusade sums to 26, and it is no mistake that the United States invaded Afghanistan exactly 26 days after September 11th on October 7th, 2001. And again, think about that. That now the big terrorism focus in Afghanistan is from when? August 26th, right? 26 again. In history, what was lost with the destruction of Solomon's temple, the structure that all Masonic temples are built in tribute to today, and Herod's temple after that, was the biblical Holy Land to the Babylonians first, then the Romans, summing to 26. Second, Romans is also the sixth book of the New Testament. That again is 260 total chapters. Remember, when you write out 6, that equals 26. The followers of the Holy Bible did not reclaim this lost land until after the Crusades. When it was taken back, it was on behalf of the papacy, another 26 word, office of the Pope, of the Catholic Church, yet another 26. In chapter 4, you will learn how Catholic sums to 351, what is the 26th triangular number, meaning if you sum the numbers 1 through 26 together, they total 351. In the chapters ahead, you'll also learn how Catholic Bible sums to 101, again, the 26th prime, and why it is 73 chapters instead of the typical 66 found in the King James Version and New International Version Bibles. Also pertinent, Antioch of modern-day Syria was the first city to fall to the Crusaders. In the Holy Bible, it is Acts 11:26 that mentions Antioch, emphasis on the 26th verse of the 11th chapter, where the first Christian church is established. Connecting 26, the word church sums to 101, same with the word Christian. There's more to the story that we'll get to in time, but as you can begin to see by knowing the code, you can gain appreciation for how history repeats itself, such as invading Afghanistan 26 days later and the war being waged by a Christian president who had a very divisive rhetoric about Islam. For your historical reference, the Crusades are connected to the Knights Templar, who became the protectors of Christians traveling to the newly reclaimed Jerusalem at the conclusion of the Holy Wars. Today, the Knights Templar are a Masonic fraternity with a stipulation that not only must you believe in God, you must be a Christian. Fittingly, Knights Templar and Christianity are matching names in Gematria, as we will uncover. Bringing us back to 26, the word Templar means temple, and the name Knights Templar truly stands for poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon. After the Crusades, the Knights Templar took Temple Mount to be their headquarters, the same place Solomon's Temple and Herod's Temple once stood. Well, this is according to the Catholic tradition. Fittingly, just as Temple sums to 26, so does the surname of the man who is credited with establishing the Knights Templar. He was Hugues de Payens, a French knight and nobleman. If you take the full gematria of his name, it totals to 62, the reflection of 26. We'll save 62, closely related to the number 26, for later chapters. After the conquering of Jerusalem for the Catholic Church, it was the Knights Templar who gained access to the wisdom of Kabbalah and brought the knowledge to the Church in Europe. From there it spread to nobility in the surrounding regions, when and where the Cabal, a term derived from Kabbalah, began. The definition of cabal is a secret political clique or faction. Again, Kabbalah is knowledge intended to be kept secret from the start, and historically has been exclusive to those who are commonly referred to as elites, such as pharaohs, kings, queens, popes, and in more recent times, prime ministers and presidents. In Donald Trump's book, The Way to the Top, on page 188, it says his Kabbalah teacher, Eaton Yardeni, gave him some of the most memorable wisdom he had ever received. As you know, Donald Trump is Captain Twitter, and would you believe that tweet also sums to 26? Ahead, when we uncover Trump's run for president, where he announced from his 58-story Trump Tower that he was running for the 58th U.S. presidential election, the influence of Kabbalah will become overwhelming. Even further, when we get to the part about the hiring of 58-year-old Steve Ray to lead the ceremonies for the 58th U.S. presidential inauguration, it will become undeniable. The number 58 is very significant and very much related to the number 26, as we will learn next chapter. Fittingly, the common acronym for President of the United States, POTUS, sums to 26 as well. It makes sense because Washington, D.C., an independent city-state like Vatican City, and London's financial district is named after the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason George Washington. Again, Mason sums to 26. If you look at the architecture of the city, it should come as no surprise that numbers are of great significance. The Washington Monument is 555 feet tall, and it sits across from the Pentagon that is 5-sided, 5 floors, and with a 5-acre court in the middle. The Pentagon is also 77 feet tall and resides on the 77th meridian. On September 11th, it is reported Flight 77 struck the Pentagon precisely 77 minutes after taking off, per the 9/11 Commission report. In the chapters on D.C. and 9/11, we'll learn the answers why. For now, you can know the word monument sums to 101 and is built in honor of the first recognized POTUS. Again, POTUS 26. Many historians claim it is truly a giant phallus, another 26 word, but I'll let you be the final judge of that. If you ask me, it is a bit pointy. I'll remind you last year on the day that Chadwick Boseman died, the big ritual that was, the same day as the anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. They showed the picture in D.C. comparing the time of I Have a Dream to the time of the anniversary last year and the time of COVID, and they had, black men on chairs that were spaced out with their face masked, and in the background, they were sure to get a picture where right behind them was the giant Washington Monument, right? And I said, in a way, that picture might be telling you, where all this jealousy and rewriting of history and all this stuff that they do to shame black men come from. It might come from right there, what they're showing you in that picture. It might come from jealousy of, the genitalia. I mean, it's no secret that black men are the most blessed. And again, that picture from 1 year ago, we talked about it in a big way. I wasn't in better spirits at that time, but I remember people enjoyed that stream because I was actually being humorous. But yeah, I really think it probably is a giant phallus. These people are obsessed with dicks. And again, just the way they did that picture, all the black men with sure right in the center, the big old monument right in the middle. Okay. Back on the subject at hand, relating to the word temple is the word church, which totals to 101, the 26th prime. First Christian church established in Acts 11:26. This corresponds with things that are commonplace in the church, such as God, a pastor, 26 word, a baptism, 26, and faith, all having Gematria 26. Not by chance in Hebrew, where the roots of English rest, Christianity equates to 26 as well, pairing nicely with the length of the New Testament, which is 260 chapters. As mentioned in chapter 4, you will learn how religion equals 260 in the English Extended Gematria cipher. One more time, the New Testament was first composed in Greek, also summing to 26, not too far off from Hebrew, summing to 101, what the Old Testament was written in. As will become understood, the United States of America is a biblical nation following a biblical narrative from its inception. And for anyone who doubted that, look at what they're doing right now with all the 666 stuff. Clear evidence of this fact is in the name of the early capital before Washington, D.C. was constructed, Philadelphia. What is the name of a church? The Church of Philadelphia from Revelation, that concluding book of the Bible. Fittingly, the name Philadelphia sums to 101 as well. You know what? I think did I finish this? I can't remember if this was... Well, anyway, remember Philadelphia started 10-1 that season, and we said that year was all about the flag, and flags 26. I'm about to get to this right here, but I'm not sure that this book came out before or after that season. Fittingly, the name Philadelphia sums to 101 as well. In Chapter 3, you'll learn more about Philadelphia, seeing just how layered the coding of a single name word can be. It is this same city, Philadelphia, where the U.S. flag was sewn, another word equating to 26, which corresponds with Philadelphia's gematria of 101. Thinking of flag worship in light of its numerical value equaling God, or think of flag worship in light of its numerical value equaling God. Also relating, the word anthem equals 101, as in national anthem. Now, having connected the body and the temple in letters and numbers... And just to remind you guys, like the year that Philadelphia won the Super Bowl, it was 86 years after the national anthem was adopted, and number 86, Zach Ertz, caught the winning touchdown for Philadelphia 86 days after his birthday. And before he did that, we said if Philadelphia wins the game, Zach Ertz will score the winning touchdown, because we understood that whole season was about the flag and national anthem. Same year, Philly started 10-1. Now, having connected the body and the temple in letters and numbers, as well as things of this world, what is below, we will add the other related component, what is above. Historically, spiritual structures were built in alignment with the stars, commonly referred to as the heavens where the gods reside. This evidence is found in religious architecture of the ancients all throughout the world, where structural attributes were clearly built to align with astrological phenomenon, from the rising and setting sun to equinoxes to solstices and other significant planetary alignments. The Greeks as well as the Aztecs of the Americas were said to be masters of the zodiac, understanding its lengthy cycles and gaining the ability to predict astrological phenomenon long before it transpired. Not by surprise, the gematria of Aztec is 26, same as Greek. Adding more real-world significance to the number, the Aztecs are known for keeping two calendars, one that is very similar to the modern Gregorian calendar, where 1 year is 365 days, and a second calendar that is exactly 260 days long, divided into 20 sections, each lasting 13 days apiece. The 260-day calendar, called the... I still don't know how to pronounce this word, but I can write it down. It's something like tonal puoli or something like that. Tonal palali, I don't know. Was meant to please their gods and prevent them from bringing destruction to the earth. In the next chapter, you'll learn how sun god sums to 26, the same as gods Zeus and Apollo, where Apollo was the Greek god of the sun. In the fourth chapter, you'll also learn how God sums to 52, what is 26 plus 26. In terms of God, the heavens and the calendar, consider that each year has 52 weeks. In the case of the Aztec calendars, every 52 years, the 365-day calendar and the 260-day calendar would align. That's because if you multiply 52 by 365, the product is 18,980. In those 18,980 days, the 260-day calendar completes 73 cycles. 73 being a number you will learn to represent perfect, number, and more. Again, there's a reason the Catholic Bible is 73 books. It's the 21st prime, for one. Bible's 21, like Jesuit, like Sunday. Ultimate, and 21's the sixth triangular number. Ultimately, the belief of many is God is perfect, and in this world there is nothing more perfect or exact than numbers and mathematics, what are always true. Another word totaling 26, just the same as axiom. It is for this reason numbers have been used to best symbolize God across the world throughout the course of time, and is the same belief that underlies Kabbalah, and yes, best tallies the number 26 as well. The greater connection to 26 with the zodiac is how long it takes to go through the entire cycle of the 12 ages. It is widely agreed that each of the 12 ages of the zodiac are 2,160 years in length. When you multiply 2,160 by 12 for the 12 signs of the zodiac, or the 12 ages, you arrive at 25,920 years, nearly 26,000. Fittingly, the word space sums to 26, same as cosmic, sky, zenith, air, cloud, and heaven, connecting with bones and the belief that we are the children of the stars, or as a science teacher might put it, we're made of stardust. On the subject of time, what is measured by the stars above and constrains us all, the word chrono, meaning relating to time, also totals to 26. Historically, the zodiac has been presented as a wheel, summing to 26, same as watch and clock, things I am sure you've heard of before. Related, the Greek word for circle, kuklos, also sums to 26. Fitting right in, the two words full circle equate to 101. At this moment in the slowly circling zodiac wheel, we are living in the age of Pisces, a measurement of the stars, which also equates to 26. Of the 12 astrological signs, two sum to 26. The other is Cancer, the fourth sign of the astrological calendar, where the order is Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Consider the sign of Cancer comes in summer, the only season totaling 26, and the season where the energy of the sun, thought by many ancients and people living now to be God, is felt more so than any other. It is also agreed by most Bible historians Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was born in the summer months. Probably not by coincidence, the phrase Son of God sums to 101. Please consider how English has us use the two variants of the word son, S-O-N, and sun, S-U-N. As for those who follow the teachings of the Bible and Jesus Christ, where the code originates on Christian car bumpers, doors, and mailboxes, you'll commonly see the tetragrammaton, the four-letter name of God, Yahweh, inside the Pisces symbol, what is the fish. The next time you see a Christian sharing this symbolism, please make sure to share the knowledge of what the fish truly represents, as many Christians think it only pertains to the miracles Jesus worked with fish, including the miraculous catch of 153 fish, a fun number for later discussion, that also pays tribute to God and the name Holy Bible. For any Christian who believes knowledge is power, it will be a welcomed and appreciated gesture, and possibly life-changing. For any who might shun you, the truth does not guide them. And I write that because, most Christians are not guided by the truth. They're just guided by ego and belief in their bullshit. And again, case in point, this happened to me a week ago, trying to enlighten a group of Christians who are broadcasting on the street on a loudspeaker about Jesus, just what's going on with the Society of Jesus and the Catholic Church. They had a tantrum and shut down their whole thing because they didn't want to hear a word of it. How pathetic. They don't have 2 minutes to let me explain something important to think about. Again, they don't care about the truth. They just care about, believing what they already believe and celebrating what they already know and ignoring, celebrating their ignorance, essentially. Before transitioning off of the topic of the zodiac, something strange about Western astrology worth recognizing is even though we're living in the age of Pisces and nearly the age of Aquarius, consider age of Aquarius as the water bearer, right? And science is telling us how, flooding is coming. Wouldn't it be interesting to find out that that's part of also how all this stuff synced up, and maybe that's why Aquarius is the water bearer, because there's that some kind of cycle with the earth and what's happening above and the biblical floods? Wouldn't that just be all too transparent if it was that way? Aquarius, the water bearer, water levels rising, temperatures rising, ice melting. The world could just be in a perfect cycle like this. And this gang, which goes back to Babylon, the Jesuits are carrying knowledge that goes all the way back there. They know what's up. All right, coming back. And nearly to the age of Aquarius, we still base the astrological calendar in the times of Aries, which dates back to Babylon, where the concept of the zodiac originates. It is simple things such as this, hidden in plain sight, that are intended to pay tribute to the masters who contrived the beliefs that still guide us today. Subtly and secretly. Again, Babylon is the home of Kabbalah, having the belief that God created the world with language by merging the letter with the number as well as the motto. As above, so below, a belief and a motto that should have more meaning to you now than just moments ago when you began the chapter. And to make certain you know how an astrological age is measured, it is by the constellation the sun appears in at the vernal equinox, typically occurring March 21st on the Gregorian calendar. From approximately 1 CE until 2160 CE, the sun will appear in the constellation of Pisces, and then after transitioning to Aquarius. And some people would argue that, we're already in Aquarius, or Aquarius is closer than that. But we're close, So, prior to Pisces, the vernal equinox would take place in Aries, which dates back to approximately 2160 BCE. And prior to that, Taurus, dating back to 4320 BCE. Now let's transition from the zodiac back to those who have had the greatest impact on our understanding of the closely related final frontier, space. Space is a 26 word. As we'll cover in depth in Chapter 12, members of the secretive Masonic Brotherhood have forged NASA's entire history in space by the exact code we're just now becoming accustomed to. Think about the Apollo mission and the moon landing in the time of Cancer. Again, Apollo and Cancer are both 26. Cancer is ruled by the moon and is symbolized by 69, like the year of the landing, 69. These NASA astronauts are the same Masons who pride themselves on being the keepers of old world knowledge, including Kabbalah and that of the stars. According to Manly P. Hall, the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, he writes in his book, The Secret Destiny of America, that the United States of America was created by a network of Masons and other related secret societies as something referred to as the Order of the Quest, where Quest totals 26, just the same as Mason. According to Hall, the Secret Alliance has one essential mission: to deliver a one-world government based in democracy and philosophy, which was also a dream and aspiration of the Greeks, first credited to Plato. Hall states further, the Order of the Quest is responsible for the symbolism on the U.S. seal, which is most commonly mistaken for being an eagle, but is truly a phoenix, equaling none other than 26. If you're not familiar with the ancient and mythical bird, it dates back to at least the Egyptians and is known as a symbol of power to exist for hundreds of years before bursting into flame and then a pile of ash, only to return reborn and renewed. In addition to the words phoenix, flame, and ash, each summing to 26, so do the words burn and blaze. In Masonic lore, the phoenix represents the spirit of the sun god and ultimately the purpose of Masonry, which is the pursuit of light that the sun provides. Speaking of Masonic symbolism, the U.S. dollar bill is loaded. In the chapters on Masonry ahead, we'll discuss the very Masonic symbolism cleverly encoded on the U.S. currency in pictures and in words. For now, please know that the words bank and dollar each sum to 26. As I mentioned earlier, the Masons are playing God over the masses with the lie. They're also doing it with the dollar. Think about "In God We Trust" on the U.S. currency, seemingly out of place until you learn the clever numerical code behind the letters. Just the same is true, trust also equates to 26. Fitting in with the word dollar, invest and the acronym IRS each equate to 26 as well. So does legal. I don't know about you, but whenever I think about the IRS and taxes, I think about the Boston Tea Party, where both the words tea and party equate to 26 too. Not far off, Boston, Massachusetts sums to 260. In Chapter 16, you'll learn why the Boston Marathon bombing came on April 15th, leaving 260 days in the year, and why 26 people were reportedly shot dead at Sandy Hook Elementary on December 14th. Matching the code, the Boston Tea Party transpired on a date having a numerical connection to the number 101, again the 26th prime. That date was December 16th, 1773. In the next chapter, we'll learn the 6 different mathematical paths for finding the numerology of a date. For an early start on the matter, December 16th, 1773 had numerology of 101. If you're familiar with the historical event, you likely recall it was the Sons of Liberty, summing to 62, the reflection of 26, who were responsible for throwing the tea into the Boston harbor. It was led by Samuel Adams, where Samuel totals to 26. For their assault on the East India Company's shipment of tea, they dressed in tribal costumes, mimicking the appearance of the local native population, words also summing to 26. As will become understood, many details of history's past are gematria perfect, if you will, meaning the details reported in history books are made to numerically correspond with the remembered event, such as native, tea, and the date all sinking. This encoding is a component in how history repeats itself. Speaking of which, on the subject of money-related matters in history, Black Thursday sums to 206, the date that began the financial collapse known as the Great Depression, where the dollar lost the majority of its value in a matter of days. That was October 24th, 1929. Black Thursday is also used in the history books to reference the terrible bushfires of Victoria, Australia, which began February 6th, 1851. The date 2/6, much the same as the number 26, corresponds well with burn, blaze, torch, and flame. As we'll cover, many fires have been purposefully set in history, and I wouldn't be surprised in the least if the Black Thursday fire of February 6, 1851 was one of those incidents. The Great Chicago Fire certainly was. Get to that later. On a related note, in Chapter 19, you'll learn about weather warfare by the numbers, which, as far out as it might seem, is sadly a real thing that has been tormenting people of the world since at least 1952, and likely much longer. In more recent history, Houston, Texas was devastated with flooding for very purposeful reasons by the code just hours after the boxing star Floyd Money Mayweather, emphasis on weather, set a new record for his sport, earning a record of 50-0, unprecedented over an opponent whose name in gematria summed to 50, McGregor, just the same as the word undefeated. Prior to this fight, the match was set on June 14th, what is the flag's birthday, as well as the POTUS's at the time, Donald Trump, born June 14th, 46. If you saw the fight, you might recall the color commentator making remarks such as, "I predict Floyd takes him into the later rounds, into the deep water, and drowns him." Sadly, those remarks were not coincidental, but part of the planned agenda we're living out that the devious Masons in high places are very much aware of and responsible for. When Floyd came into the fight, he was 49-0 with 26 career knockouts, or KOs. The 26 KOs were perfect because in gematria, Floyd, boxer, hit, punch, and KO each summed to 26, matching the fight being on the 26th day of August. As we'll cover later in Hebrew, flood sums to 26 as well, a word not too far off from the name Floyd. Think about how the biblical flood from the Torah is created by God, and again, the Masons are playing God, as will become evident. For more mockery from the same gang, it was the rains from Tropical Storm Harvey that did Houston in after the devastation. When the first professional baseball game was played in Houston, the first visiting pitcher was Matt Harvey of the New York Mets, from the city that was flooded by Hurricane Sandy years earlier, also by the code. There's a lot more to the story, such as Texas being flooded on the 27-year anniversary of the death of Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was best remembered for the album Texas Flood. We'll get to it all and more. When we uncover the full picture, it will become undeniable what is truly taking place in the world and which must be stopped, which is the reason I have written this book, to bring awareness to the wrongdoing, as well as spreading this very important and life-changing knowledge. With enough people awake to the orchestrated madness, we will end it, from the scripted sports to the ritualistic murders to anything but natural weather disasters. And since I just brought up baseball, you should know that sports, game, park, and ball game each equate to 26. So does the name Yankees, the most successful team in baseball history, who once had the legendary star Babe Ruth, a nickname also summing to 26, and corresponding perfectly with his birthday, February 6th, 26, 1895. At the same time, the words athlete, sports, and action each equate to 26. For many people, athletes are seen as personal heroes, where hero also totals to 26, just the same as card. Think about sports card collectors. You could even say these sports celebrities are treated as living gods. When I was a child, the most celebrated man on the planet was probably Michael Jordan. After him, it was probably Kobe Bryant, who had a remarkably similar career to MJ, both of which were entirely scripted by the code, as all of professional sports are, and who both share last names summing to the magic number. Now, isn't it funny that Kobe ended up dying on the 26th? You know, if you were reading this chapter and being like, I don't know, man, this could all be bullshit, which I know people do. I don't know how they do it, but they do. Wouldn't you be like, well, wait a minute, when the hell did this book come out? Didn't he die on the 26th? You know what I mean? Not unrelated, and not to mention, I talk about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant in a big way later on in the book, and all the numbers I lay out about him are the numbers that are in his death. Not unrelated in the world of American football, Not unrelated, in the world of American football, the shape of the ball is that of the Pisces, which is also that of the mandorla. The game takes after rugby, summing to 26 too. The common denominator between baseball, basketball, and American football is that they were all created by Freemasonry, a network that has had tremendous influence on the world we share. As we wind down, I hope this knowledge has impacted your mind's eye with the strength of a freight train. And yes, train sums to 26, just the same as track and Union, as in Union Pacific Railroad, which has its headquarters in Nebraska, also summing to 26, very appropriately. If you know the history of the railroads, they were largely built by Asian immigrants, and isn't it interesting that the word rice sums to 26, just the same as Asian? Not too far off, eat also totals to 26. Once taught public school in South Seattle, and half of my students were of Asian ancestry. I didn't remember I put this in there. I'll never forget the year when I asked them to write an essay about the things they were grateful for in this world, and every single Asian student wrote, among other things, they were grateful for rice. That's not an exaggeration, but I just thought it was so funny at the time. I was like, man, I didn't know how much they love rice. Oh my God. Every last one of them hit it. Sweet Lady loves rice too, man. Sweet Lady's Asian. Rightfully so, I say, because rice is magnificent. As for Asia and the Far East, consider it is the birthplace for much of the knowledge being revealed in the first chapter. Much Masonic lore traces to this historic continent. From Asia to the Americas, the code is prevalent. I've thrown a lot at you in this chapter establishing this very point, but we're only just getting started, not unlike Francis Bacon's unfinished work, New Atlantis from 1626, which was his fictional novel about his aspirations of the colonization of the Americas, what was to be utopia, prior to the existence of the United States. In the text, he writes about the fictional land Bensalem, summing to 26, and the university that enlightens the people of that land, named Solomon's House, where the name Solomon also adds to 26. We'll learn about Francis Bacon later, one of the chief authors of the King James Bible, and perhaps the man who has had the most influence on the modern English language as we know it. Of course, Bacon was a Mason, as the majority of the names remembered in history books have been. He was also a practitioner of gematria and very secretive about this knowledge. It's unfortunate to think, however, that this idea of a utopia, a crown jewel of wisdom in the Americas, has gone extremely south. Instead of a nation of enlightenment, knowledge, democracy, and peace, we have become a land of willful ignorance, tyranny, deception, hatred, greed, and war, with a rapidly expanding police state. On the subject of police state, RFID, the tracking chip, has Gematria 26. Going back in time, think about our roots, beginning with the genocide of the native population by purposefully spreading plague, also summing to 26, same as virus. Now we could add to it, same as COVID. Tying in, kill sums to 26. And if you really think about it, what is more godlike than killing? In the Old Testament, God kills with floods, famine, fire from the sky, plague, war, and more. At the same time, God is love and compassion, and the word mercy also shares Gematria of 26, again reminding us of duality, a concept that is inescapable in this world. As we'll cover in the chapter on U.S. presidential assassinations, there is a familiar pattern of murder by numbers, and not by chance, the word assassin has a gematria of 101 corresponding with the 26 gematria of kill. That same pattern goes beyond presidents as well, which we will cover elsewhere, especially in the chapter titled Murder by Numbers. Consider the November 5th, 2017 Sutherland Springs, Texas church massacre of 26 killed by a 26-year-old shooter on a date with a life lesson number of 26 in a church that was established in 1926. And keep in mind, November 5th is the day leaving 56 days left in the year. Society of Jesus, 56. Freemasons, the plural, 56. For another example, on October 1st, 2017, or 10/1, as is written in the United States, an assassin reportedly rained bullets on concert-goers while stationed in his hotel room at Mandalay Bay Casino, equating to 101, in Las Vegas, Nevada. For the record, the word casino alone also sums to 101, and don't forget dollar sums to 26, same as bank. Adding insult to injury, the musician performing when the massacre transpired was Jason Aldean, where J is the 10th letter and A is the first, thus 10 and 1, or 101. This entire spectacle was a massive ritual coinciding with Yom Kippur, the Jewish holy day of atonement for our sins, and of course Las Vegas, where it took place, is known as Sin City. Plus Sin City equates to the same numerical value as Yom Kippur. In this event, it was reported that the shooting lasted 9 to 11 minutes and ended at 10:19 p.m. local time. The digits should remind you of September 11th, and as I mentioned earlier, 9/11 paid great tribute to the Jewish Day of Remembrance for the destruction of the two temples known as Tisha B'Av. In Chapter 4, you'll learn how tightly the gematria of Tisha B'Av pairs with the date September 11th, as do the words Orthodox and Star of David. While I do not want to put blame on the Jewish people of the world, it is important to understand that what is taking place in the world is a Zionist conspiracy waged by those who operate from high places, including world banking, world media, world government, and multinational corporations, as well as those who have influence over the entertainment mediums of this world, including music, movies, and sports. Later, we will address some of the scriptures of the Talmud, a text important to Rabbinic Judaism, having origins dating back to Babylon, the same as Kabbalah. In the Talmud, it says that the Jews are God's chosen people, chosen's 26, and non-Jews, known as Goyim or Gentiles, are a lesser race serving the purpose of a slave class for the superior Jewish race, and yes, chosen sums to 26. Us Goyim, according to the Talmud, have a purpose to work and labor, so that the Jew does not have to. They are to benefit from our labor, and they are to live on a tier that is not deserved by the rest of us. The Talmud is very specific in what it says, including giving Jews the right to lie to Gentiles, as long as it is in a legal setting. Since we live in a world of laws, this setting is technically everywhere. Also in the Talmud, it states that if the Goyim ever discover what is written within, they will likely kill because of it. That remains to be seen. The text also has a major focus on sodomy, summing to 26, same as anus and anal. Remember the COVID anal swabs that we predicted, which became true for the Chinese? China also equals 26. Speaking of Asian and rice. Later we'll cover what it takes for a Gentile to make it in the nearly entirely Zionist-owned and operated world of entertainment. It isn't pretty. Before moving on, I want to preview a portion of what you will discover next chapter, which are the 4 base methods for calculating the value of a word. I want to do this now because it will add meaning to what you have gathered from chapter 1. 2 of those 4 methods are highly intuitive, and so are the other 2, as you'll soon discover. The first is using the alphabetic order, as we did earlier in the chapter with the word God, summing to 26. The second is using the alphabetic order, but incorporating the rules of numerology. If you calculate the word God using the second method, it will sum to 17 because G is 7, O is 15, but becomes 1 plus 5 is 6, and D is 4. Thus, God sums to 17 because 7 plus 6 plus 4 is 17. Keep in mind the name El, another name for the God of the Old Testament, sums to 17 as well, using the alphabetic order. El is E is 5 plus 12. L is 12, 17. And if you want to do a bit of independent research, you can discover how L is truly the planet Saturn, the 6th from the Sun, known as the Father of Heaven. As we advance through the chapters ahead, it will become abundantly clear how important Saturn is to the entire code, and in Chapter 4, you'll expand on the base ciphers, learning the septenary cipher where Saturn equates to 26 using this special method. Now, with the 2 base methods introduced, we will decode the names Torah and Elohim using the alphabetic order, where Elohim is the name used for God in Genesis 1:1. We will also decode the name Garden of Eden using the alphabetic order and incorporating the rules of numerology. What you will notice is Torah, Elohim, and Garden of Eden each equate to 62, the reflection of 26, the number this chapter was dedicated to. As you will come to understand reflections of each other, numbers such as 26 and 62 are considered equals in this study. Consider that in Hebrew, letters and numbers are read from right to left, so the number that is seen as 62 in English is seen as 26 in Hebrew. Even more fascinating, in the New International Version of the Bible, the word garden is used exactly 62 times, and certainly not by coincidence. So the math is there for Torah, Elohim, and Garden of Eden. And then says to close out this chapter, and for some historical perspective, I give you the oldest known English alphabet tracing back to 1011 CE, which was composed by the monk Burfirth of Ramsey Abbey. So it didn't have the letters J, U, and W, which when you pronounce them together is kind of interesting as well, right? Reminds that the Jesuits have Jewish origins. And so that is the first chapter, connecting 26, the language, human anatomy, bones, the way it's been used in so many different ways from the Bible to current history. If I went back and redid it, I'd tighten up a few things and add a few more things, but I mean, it's a great chapter that should make anybody be like, and especially just things like Bryant being in there in 26, right? He ends up dying on January 26th, the anniversary of the death of Bear Bryant, on the 37-year anniversary. And when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, Brian's 37. And in chapter 2, I'm talking about how the code is as simple as the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. How if you learn these ciphers, you'll see through the rituals.